Hi, my name is Andrea and I'm the leader of the Pinot Gallery team. I'm welcoming you today to Fun Facts 101. Why fun facts? They're a good way to engage your guests throughout the entire tasting. Plus remember, we not only provide a social element to our wine tastings, but we also provide some education as well. So interspersing fun facts or stories throughout your tasting is a really good way to help people learn about our wonderful portfolio of wine. And finally, know a little bit about each wine that you're presenting, and it could be a fun fact about the actual type of wine it is, or it could be actually a fun fact about the winery that it represents as well. So those are just some key things to think about in terms of the fun facts that you want to have throughout your wine tasting. I'm going to share a few with you right now, but remember what I'm sharing with you, these are just some basic ones out there, nothing specific to any of our wineries. Those we can help you in future trainings as well as finding them throughout our back office and on the internet. So the first one that I want to share with you is that every state in the US has a winery that produces wine. This is always a fun one to share with your wine tasting guests because inevitably someone will throw out all 50, but it's fun to see if people can take a guess to see exactly how many wineries there are or how many states produce wine in the US. The second one is cheers and toasting. I like to start out my wine tasting with Prosecco, or any wine for this matter, and always do a cheers to the host for being a gracious hostess or host for welcoming us into their home and just having a great evening all together. And what does cheering mean? Where did it come from? So in the ancient Greek times, the host would cheer his guests in his home and then take a sip of that wine to prove that he wasn't actually poisoning anyone in the room. So it was safe to drink the wine. And in ancient Roman times, the term toasting came about from there because they would take a piece of toast and put it inside of wine to make it more palatable so that people could actually enjoy the wine that was in front of them. A third tip that I want to share with you, fun fact, is red wine tends to go with red meat and white wine tends to go with white meat. Now these are generalizations, remember that, and that's something that we stress throughout our tastings. Just because I'm telling you something doesn't mean it's set in stone. If you like a white wine with a red piece of meat, that's okay because that's your palate, that's what you enjoy, and that's what it's all about. A fourth tip for you is your go-to red wine in general is a Pinot Noir, and your go-to white wine in general is a Riesling. And what does that mean? That means that those two wines, if you go to the store, the local grocery store, and you want a red wine or a white wine with your meal, it's great to start with those two options because they are very food friendly and they tend to work with a lot of different combinations of food, whether it's an appetizer, a meal, or a dessert. So remember, red wine, Pinot Noir, and a white wine, a Riesling. The next fun fact I have for you is about vintage. So when you see a vintage on a bottle, it's always fun to ask your guests, do they actually know what that year means on that bottle? That's the year that the grapes were harvested and made into a wine, not the year that they were bottled. And it's fun to throw that out there because we, being the wine consultants that we are, we know these things, but a lot of our guests don't. So it's our job, again, we throw these fun facts in to teach them a little bit about wine and what it is we have to offer. So the next fun fact that I like to throw out there is that the Cabernet Sauvignon grape is the most planted grape in the world. So that's another fun one to share with everyone, just to get the conversation going and having them guess what it is and seeing who knows their wine and who learned something new. The next point that I wanted to share with you, the next fun fact, is that not all sparkling wine is champagne. For a sparkling wine to be truly called a champagne, it has to be made in the Champagne region of France. So Prosecco, even though it's sparkling wine, and yes, our guests will call it champagne, and that's okay, but we call it Prosecco. Spain, for example, it's called Cava. So different regions have different names for their sparkling wine, but for it to be called truly champagne, it has to be from the Champagne region of France. Another fun fact for you is when we talk about the wines with our guests, we talk about, oh, there's notes of honeydew or apricots or raspberries. Well, when we mention those different fruits or those elements that we smell and taste in wine, those aren't actually put in the wine. So apricot isn't added to the wine. Honeydew wasn't added to the wine. Grapes pick up their flavors from the ground that they grow in. So you can have a Cabernet Sauvignon grape that grows in California and one in France. And even though it's the same grape, it will have a little different characteristic because of the territory and the soil that it grows in. So climate does matter for grapes, as does the ground that it grows in. And finally, another fact that I wanted to share with you, or a fun fact for you, is that oak adds flavors of nuttiness, coconut, vanilla, and spices to your wine, whereas stainless steel doesn't do that. Stainless steel fermentation gives you more of that crisper, fresher flavor to wine. So these were just some fun facts that I wanted to share with you. Again, you don't have to remember every single one of these. You don't have to throw every single fact out there. But being able to know some of these things helps engage your guests, especially if they're not, they could be a new crowd, they could be people who aren't quite as familiar with wine. And it's just a nice way to help even break the ice at a wine tasting. So if you've got some great ones to share with us, please do share that with all the consultants out there. That's what we're here for, to help you out. And I hope that Fun Facts 101 helps you all the way through all your future tastings. Thank you. Cheers.